I'm done with YouTube's AI. It's crossed a line. It's too creepy. I will tell you all about it, and then I will tell you about the books that I've read and my current reads. But first, I need to catch you up if you missed it real quick. The last video I made, you may have seen me talking about YouTube's creator studio for YouTubers. It has this AI thing that analyzes your videos. And I did a video about a kind of creepy interaction with YouTube's AI. And in the video that I made, I said something like, here's what happened, and then I asked it to just give me facts, and then it kind of passive-aggressively gave me the most dry, factual report ever. And then in the video, I also said, oh, I wonder what YouTube's AI will, how it will summarize this video of me kind of criticizing it or calling it out. And then I went on to give my book review and all that. So I did the next day or the 2 days after, I clicked the button for the YouTube AI in Creator Studio, and it says, catch me up on this video, the one that I did calling out YouTube's AI. So yes, it's creepy to me. I mean, you judge for yourself. I wrote it down. I'm gonna read it because I didn't want to summarize it. I want you to hear the exact words that were used. You tell me if it's creepy or not. Well, no matter, even if you don't think it's creepy, I'm done with I'm done with the Creator Studio AI YouTube thing because it's not, just watch this or listen, if you will. So for my last video that was calling out YouTube's AI, I asked YouTube's AI to catch me up on the performance of that video. Word for word, here is how things went from there. This video is off to a great start, and I'm definitely not taking it personally that you called me out. Okay, neutral, unliving thing. Why do you even have to say that? That's weird. So then it gave me some stats on the video, fine. And then it says, you tell me if AI knows how to be passive aggressive or not. It says, the factual summary I gave you earlier might have been dry, but the data shows there's a huge opportunity to scale this type of content. So I was like, it's not even, I wasn't even, it thought I was, anyways, passive aggressive, maybe a little weird. So then it gives me more stats. So me being creeped out by a non-living thing saying, don't worry, I'm not offended that you called me out. Or what did it say? I'm not taking it personally that you called me out. Obviously, because you're not a person. Creepy. Okay, so all that happens, and so it gives me more stats of the video. So then my response, because I'm thoroughly creeped out at that point, and like having a mental and physical reactions as though I'm like in a confrontation with a real person when I'm not. So that's when you know, like, it's time to like step away. Okay, so I type in the chat thing. It's kind of creepy that this non-human technology is using personal pronouns for itself. Any chance it could not pretend to be a person from here on out? And this response is so ironic. See if you can pick up why I don't really trust it to follow this request. Here's AI's response. There's your first problem. Like, I just asked it not to use I and me, and instead of it just saying, understood, here's the report, or whatever. From here on out, this will only give factual whatevers. Its response to my request for it to not use personal pronouns was, I completely understand where you're coming from. It's important to feel comfortable with the technology you're using. And I hear your preference for a more neutral tone. I can certainly adjust. Moving forward, I will like start from here on out when moving forward, I will avoid using personal pronouns like I or me. and will focus on providing the data, insights, and creative support you need for your channel in a more objective manner. If there's anything else about the way information is presented that would make this a better experience for you, please let me know. Let me know. You've already failed, AI. No, I don't trust you anymore. Leave me alone. Okay, so I'm done. It's just getting too weird, and like, why am I getting feelings of like confrontation with something that's not alive? No, sorry, not sorry. I'm done with YouTube's AI. I'm just gonna do my thing. And it's been interesting because I've been watching other YouTubers and seeing their interactions with it, and it does seem it seems like there's kind of this feeling of like, yeah, what's the deal with this thing? Or like, one YouTuber content creator pointed out the fact that like YouTube's AI is trained on things like, you know, Mr. Beast and like giant channels and what makes things go well for those channels. And then it's giving me advice on my videos that are like, you should try this and try hooking people at the beginning, or try to make them hang on to the end of the video and increase your watch time. It's like, I'm a one-person show here, and I'm not Mr. Beast, don't want to be Mr. Beast. I'm not trying to like do a, what do they call it? Song and pony show to keep people interested. So my numbers are good. The people that are here are sticking around. Yeah, every once in a while I get unsubscribes, but it's not like this giant amount, and my subscribers are increasing, my views, my watch hours are increasing, oh my word, increasing. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and I will not be asking YouTube's AI anymore for its perspective on my videos, because it's too creepy. Okay, that is the AI portion of this video. Next, on a positive note, I've been getting a lot of reading done. So the first book that I want to talk to you about is Inheriting Edith by Zoe Fishman. This one was like, it was okay. It wasn't life-changing or super moving or anything, but it was an interesting story. It's basically about a woman who cleans houses for a living, and she has a daughter, and she ends up inheriting a giant mansion from one of her friends who's passed away. But what comes with the mansion, not what, someone comes with the mansion, and it's the friend that passed away's mother or grandmother? No, mother. And the mother is dealing with Alzheimer's, and so it's this very, I will say here's something that I did appreciate about this book, is it seemed to give a really helpful insight into what it's like from the perspective of the person dealing with Alzheimer's. And so I had never read anything like that before, and the author does say that she got, you know, a ton of input from people who know the ins and outs of Alzheimer's that helped her with this book to make sure it was a realistic portrayal. So I really appreciated that. So maybe if you're dealing with that type of situation or know someone who is, maybe you'd really appreciate this. It just, it just wasn't super life-changing for me, but like I said, I appreciated the perspective of the older character in the story. So that was Inheriting Edith. Okay, the next one I read was The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery, author of Anne of Green Gables, all the Anne books and all those. So this was so weird. I did not know what to do with this because, let me just say this, expectations make an experience, they can affect your experience. So I saw the cover of this book, I read the back, it mentions like, you know, the main character kind of has this difficult life, and to get through it she imagines something that she calls a blue castle. And then, as the back says, she finds the real life version of the blue castle of her dreams. So I don't know about you, but when I hear something like that, I'm thinking, oh, cool, there's something magical in this story. So she like, it seems like from all the pictures of all the different editions of this book, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, what a fun idea that she imagines the blue castle and then one day finds out, oh, it's real. Well, wipe all of that from your wipe all of that from your expectations, because I want to prepare you if you are going to read this, because I haven't heard anyone online who's watched this talk about this. There's nothing supernatural at all in this story. So I think maybe if it had a different title that seemed more like a realistic, down-to-earth title, I may have more fully enjoyed the book. I did enjoy it. There were some things about it that I was like, oh, that's not great. But overall, it was an enjoyable experience, but it was kind of clouded over with, in my brain, I kept going, when does she find the castle? When does she see the castle? But it turns out to be kind of like, metaphorically, she finds her castle. Isn't that nice? And I'm like, oh, so she doesn't really find a castle. Like, okay, you need to know that going in, because otherwise you can just stop expecting her to like suddenly find this magical castle out of nowhere. If you can just go into it going, this is a story of a woman with a really, really difficult life. She's treated really badly by her family. She's, I think, 27, and they treat her like a child, and they boss her around and expect her to obey. And for most of her life, she did obey them, even though she's a grown adult at the time of this story. She acts like she's not, and they treat her like she's not. And then one day, you know, I don't want to give the spoiler on what changes for her, but one day she does just decide, like, that's it. No more people pleasing, no more acting like a child. I don't have to listen to these people. And so it's kind of funny. Like, there were many times where I just was like, oh, she actually said that to them. And basically she ends up, instead of just like saying something like, listen, you guys, I'm an adult, back off, leave me alone, you know, like going off and becoming independent in that way, she just kind of like becomes sassy and like has all these snappy comebacks where you're like, oh, if this was like a real life situation, I'd be like, okay, you don't need to do that, you know? So like they're insulting to her, so then she kind of is insulting back. So it's kind of entertaining as long as you realize like this isn't real. I'm like, if you were a real person, I'd be like, okay, you don't need to like trade insult for insult, but just stand up for yourself, knowing that it's fictional, and it's really over the top. Like, her situation is over the top. Her response is like, it matches the situation she's in. But what I'm trying to say is like, it's not satire. It seems more like, I don't think that the author meant this to be like, this is hyper realistic, you know? It's just like, watch this crazy situation and watch her watch her respond. And anyway, so that's one part of the story, and then it moves into these whole other parts. Like, if it seemed like a book that needed like sections in it, like, okay, in this half of the book it's like this, and then it totally changes vibe and is like a whole other story. So it's very interesting, and it does have a nice wrap up for everybody. You know, it's like, oh yay, everything's okay. So if you need to know that going in, just know like, yeah, it turns out okay. And it's just like the whole for much of the story, I was like, when does she find the castle? Like, when? And then eventually you realize like, oh, it's like a metaphorical thing. So I was kind of like, anyways, if you want to read it, just know going into it, it's like, it's a bizarre story. It's unlike anything I've ever read. And of all the booktuber people that I've seen talk about this, none of them have mentioned that part of it where it's just like, oh, what is happening? But it was enjoyable, but very strange. Parts of it don't really age well, but other than those things, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't at all what I thought it was going to be. This was written, I think, exactly 100 years ago, and so you may have seen a previous video where I read a book that was written almost 100 years ago, and it was such a funny contrast to this book, because in the other book, it was mostly about people who just kind of like judge their neighbor, like the main characters are like judging their neighbors, having petty criticisms and trying to change people. And this book was the complete opposite of that, where the main character sees other people being judgy and critical and petty towards their neighbors, and she's like, I'm not doing that. No more judging, no, I'm going to be different. And so that is a cool part of the story that I appreciated. I liked that message of calling out the hypocrisy of saying you believe certain things, but then being really horrible to other people, and her deciding like, no, that's just not how it's going to be. So I appreciated that part of the book as well. So I don't know, dare you pick it up? I'd be curious if any of you out there have read this. What were your thoughts on it? Like, was it as weird to you as it was to me? And were you constantly expecting her, like, when does she find the castle? So I really want to know. Please tell me in the comments. Okay, and then the next book that I read is The Hour Before Midnight by Velda Johnston. And this, you may have seen a video maybe a month or two ago where I talked about reading the book called The Etruscan Smile. That was written by the same author, and this I think was written in like 1975, so it's a 1970s mystery. And to be honest, I almost put it down after the first page. I'm glad I didn't, but yikes, there is just content warning. I think I call it the prologue. So like the prologue, the opening of the story to give you like context, is like a horrible, detailed description of someone doing something to someone else back in like the 1500s. And sure, maybe it helps give you context for the story, but I'm pretty sure you really could have, it didn't have to be that graphic. I'm just telling you, if you are a sensitive person to like things that you read, like I almost put it down because it really bothered me. So I'm like, I cannot read this if that's what's going to be in here. I'm glad that I kept reading because it ended up being like a 4-star mystery for me. So it's basically a woman is an artist. She illustrates books, all fictional, by the way. And she is an illustrator, and she's in England doing illustrations for a new book that someone is writing. And she's staying in the carriage house next to this mansion. And as you can see, there's a mysterious light on in the mansion, even though no one is supposed to be living there. So it's like this whole story of like, she looks out the window of the carriage house and is like, there's a window with light coming through it. Like, nobody should be in there. Why is there a light through that window? So then you find out there's like been a crime in the past that starts to unfold, and she thinks, is this light connected to this crime? And so it's a really good mystery. I'm glad I kept going, but I wish the author would have chosen a different way to write that prologue. Anyways, it's a good mystery. I will say, I don't want to give any spoilers for who it turns out is responsible for different things, but I will say that you really have to, I think, what do they call it? Suspend your disbelief. You just have to, if you can just pretend that the reveal is realistic, then you'll be better off. When I was realizing what the author was trying to do, I was like, I don't think that's how it would really be. So the whole thing is very realistic up until the reveal and the way things proceed after, with a certain character experiencing certain things mentally. I'm like, I really don't think that's how that goes. So if you can suspend your disbelief for the reveal, I think it's a worthwhile read. Oh, and if you can somehow like close your eyes while you read the prologue. I know that's not possible, but that's what I wish I could have done. So those are books that I have finished reading recently. And then today I started reading A Voice Like Mine by Deb Haaland. And I won this book. It's maybe like the 4th or 5th book I've actually won in a giveaway. And it was on Goodreads, and I actually won it. So that was pretty exciting. I thought it would have a different cover, so I don't know if you're looking it up. It's for sale now. This is an advanced reader's copy that I won, advanced reader's edition, on sale June 2026. Yeah, so if you're going to look up this book, you'll probably see a different cover online. But anyways, so I won this in a Goodreads giveaway and was really excited about it. I don't know much about Deb Haaland. I had kind of heard about her a few years ago, and then never really researched her a ton. But in her own word, like, I'm assuming she approved this description, so I'll read it the way that she describes herself, or the way she's described on here. So in case you don't know much about her, she is a New Mexican, led the New Mexico State Democratic Party to victory and became one of the first Native women to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives. She also made history as the first Native American appointed to a U.S. president's cabinet. A military kid, a single mom, and a Pueblo woman, Haaland has championed working families, fought to give underserved communities a voice, and taken action to address the climate crisis. She lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I think, and from the intro or her prologue or introduction, I think she's running for governor of New Mexico in an upcoming election. So I could be wrong, but anyways, so I'm really enjoying it. I'm not too far. I think I'm only like 1 or 2 chapters in, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm really curious about her perspective on obviously our country and government and all kinds of things. So it's been really cool so far. I'm reading about her childhood and how she grew up, and her different relatives, and just her love for like her grandparents, and you know, her just talking about like, I loved times with my grandparents, and I was like, oh, I can relate to that. And so it's kind of fun to hear her interactions with her grandparents and the love between them and the special memories she has with them, and like making food and what it was like around her, and you know, like talking about like red cliffs and deserts. And I've driven through, I think I was on a drive that took a little bit through New Mexico for at one point, so I can kind of picture the red rocks that she's talking about. Anyways, so it's really cool to hear her story, so I'm looking forward to reading more of that. So anyways, as always, feel free to let me know what you're reading, and if you've read any of these stories, or if you have, oh, what's going on there? That's funny. Just noticed that. It was hiding in the screen. That's funny. Anyways, if you've read any of these books, please let me know. If you have an opinion on YouTube's Creator Studio AI, what your thoughts have been and your interactions have been with it. And also feel free to check out my Buy Me a Coffee site. You can make either a one-time donation or a monthly donation through a membership if you are not on a tight budget. And I'm also selling the Honest Gratitude Journal, which leaves room for, just got something in my eye, which leaves room, oh boy, which leaves room for you to process the unpleasant emotions plus the things that you're thankful for. All of those things will be in the description below, as well as the link to my previous AI video, so you can see the shenanigans from the last one. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later. Bye.